like it or not, this isn't the old days of practicing architecture where you had a job and you like it. I mean, the talent war is on, and you're going to go work somewhere else if you're not getting what you want out of it.
Welcome to Archispeak, a podcast about all things architecture. My name is Neil Pan. Join me and my co-hosts, Evan Troxel and Cormac Phelan, every other week as we explore what it is like to work in the profession of architecture. Have you ever worked with an architect? Have you ever wanted to be an architect? Maybe you're in school and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Or perhaps you know exactly what it is like as you've been working in the profession for a long time, and you know that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Or maybe, just maybe, you're planning on changing the world. Join us as we have a casual conversation about all things architecture. It's time for some Archispeak. Welcome to episode 86 of the Archispeak Podcast. I'm Neil Pan.
I'm Evan Troxel.
And I'm Cormac Phelan.
And this episode of Archispeak is sponsored by Arcat. Check out all the features they offer at arcat.com. We're also sponsored by DBI, or David Brown International, and a new sponsor, Drobo. We'll talk more about each of them later in the show.
And we do have one friend of the show. They want to remain anonymous, but I just wanted to give them a real quick war eagle. They know who they are.
All right, and before we jump into whatever we're going to talk about tonight, we wanted to mention that if anybody has not seen it, the Young Architects Forum publishes an e-magazine and had us in there. And we kind of talked about how the podcast started. So that's kind of a cool little jump back into history. We don't talk about that stuff too much. So we thought it would be cool to just put a link to that in the show notes. The magazine is called Connection, and it was a special issue about media, focus on media. So they talked about all different kinds of things. There's a lot of articles in there. And Archispeak happened to be one of them. And Laura Teagarden over there at the YAF, she interviewed us over text messages. So that was kind of a cool way to do an interview. We'd never done that before.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to mention it, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes, and everybody should check that out if they're interested in kind of the origin story of Archispeak. And also, if you wanted to become a friend of the show, you can do that at archispeakpodcast.com/donate. And any donation over $5 will get your name read on the air if you choose. If you choose not to, you just let us know. We'll do an anonymous shout out to you as well. And I think that's it. You guys have anything to add to that?
I quit.
Didn't you already do that?
Totally did that.
That's what we're going to talk about tonight, right?
Yeah, you quit. Let's talk about it.
Why do people... well, all right, so there's a great article. We'll have a link in the show notes for it. It's called 9 Things That Make Good Employees Quit, and that's kind of what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. So why do people quit, Evan?
Yeah, this is an article from last year, middle of last year, and we've just kind of had it in the archives here, just waiting to talk about it. And we thought it would be a good time to talk about it now because, Neil, you changed jobs. Cormac, you changed jobs a little while ago. Not this week. and so not yet. And so we just thought, because it is such a talent war out there right now, we kind of wanted to talk about, I think we'll talk a little bit about why people quit, and this will probably lead into an episode about how to keep people, because that's really, I think, something we want to talk about, is because retention has been such a big issue. We definitely should talk about that as well. But there's a lot of reasons why people quit. And I guess the thing that I hear, I can get this out of the way quickly, is that people don't quit the job, they quit their supervisor. Have you guys heard that?
Yeah, that could be that's pretty accurate. I mean,
people quit people.
Yeah, that was more of what I was going to say. Is that, people quit people, and then in turn, some of the reasons why they quit are because those people quit on them.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why somebody might quit a job or a place or a institution or another person. I think there's lots of reasons behind that, but we could probably go through some of these. And
yeah.
I would also like to add in just kind of stuff that I hear through the the channels, the grapevine. It's a tough thing to deal with. I think it kind of, a lot of times it's a surprise. Other times it's not a surprise at all. And I'm not really speaking to any kind of level of employee or anything when I say those. I think genuinely sometimes it's nobody saw it coming. And then there's other times when it's like the writing's been on the wall for a long time and they just finally push the button, right? They've been filling out their resume.
Yeah.
And then just one day they're just so fed up, they just send it, right? And then who knows what's going to happen? But a lot of times, because people who are in demand, I guess I should say, is they do get calls and they do get offers and they do a lot of interviews, and because it's hard to find good people right now. So because the need is there, they may not intend to or know what's going to happen once they push the button, but a lot of times it does lead to interviews and it leads to job offers. So I just thought it would be kind of interesting to talk about the reasons why, and there's no way we can list them all, right, in the time we're going to talk tonight. But I think there's some key contributing factors that we should talk about so that these things are on people's radar, and they can start to kind of evaluate the people that they're responsible for in their firm. Because really that's kind of the position I'm coming from, is being in kind of a leadership position and being aware of what's going on around you so that you don't get surprised, and so that you can take care of the people who you've got working for you.
Right.
No, that's actually one of the things on the list, is not recognizing contribution and rewarding good work, right? I mean, if you're not aware of what people are doing in the office or what the value of different people are, then you're not recognizing those contributions.
Yeah, the number one reason that I hear, and it's not the number one reason on this list, I guess it's exactly what you said in there, is one of the words you used. It was they don't feel valued. And I hear that a lot from people, that I don't feel valued. People don't care about what I do. They don't care about the contributions that I'm making. And so to me, like, that's a huge red flag if somebody doesn't feel valued. And I guess we could try to deconstruct that a little bit.
Well, a few episodes ago, I had told a story about a buddy of mine who now works with me, who worked with me, and when I left, they've now left and are working at the same place I am. And one of his bigger reasons was that he really felt like he wasn't valued. I mean, he was killing himself with extra hours, and that's one of them, but we'll get to that one later. But he was killing himself with extra hours. He was trying to show the initiative to really kind of take charge of a project that really didn't seem to have much leadership, and really push it forward. And every time he turned around, he kept getting thwarted. That's above your pay grade. Just let me figure that out. You don't really know what you're doing. And just never really giving him the opportunity to succeed. I mean, nobody was doing it at all, and at least he was trying. And that was the thing that, I saw was, one of his great assets was, if there's no one else there to do it, this is a guy who you can rely on, picking it up and pushing it forward. He's young in his career, but that right there alone shows that this is a guy who's going to, I just said get the job done, but I mean, he'll do what it takes to really work hard and really try to learn how to become better at what he has holes in, his experience. But, if a project needs him, he's there for it. He'll do whatever it takes. And undervaluing and not recognizing the contributions, as Neil said, that's huge. I mean, I told you a little bit further about this same guy, and the same story that I told a couple episodes ago about when he got to this new place, and he's been working on a project, and one of the namesakes of the company, one of the partners in the company, when the client was kind of patting him on the back, he's like, no. A lot of this, couldn't have been done without that guy. And I want to make sure that, we all recognize that guy's contributions. And that was huge.
Yeah. In architecture, and I think this is something that is not easy to understand when you're in school. Once you actually are going to go work for a firm, I don't know if it matters if it's big or small or not. I've actually worked in medium to large size firms. When you are in school, you're responsible for your own work, right? But when you're at a company, I mean, that I guess could be the case, but oftentimes you're part of a team. And when you are the only person who's staying late and staying there on the weekend and working extra, and the other people on the team aren't there, that's a really fast way to realize that, that this whole thing is not valuable to other people, and therefore your time isn't valued. Your time with your family isn't valued. And that's when you start to feel like that. I think that I've noticed that when you've got the senior project managers or the senior managers or the principals, and they're asking you to come in and give up your weekend for no overtime, right? I mean, we're salaried employees, and then they're not there with you. I don't feel valued when that happens.
Oh, yeah. I've worked for, many a times I've been on projects where, we know that there's a deadline coming up, there's tons of work to do, and, the senior staff or even sometimes junior staff are like, nobody's around, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, why am I the only one who cares what happens to this project? Where is everybody else? Why aren't they working on this project and killing themselves like I am to try to get it done?
I think that it also, that points out one of the other things on this list, which is being overworked, right?
Yeah.
And just by killing yourself all the time, sooner or later you burn out.
Sure.
And you just can't keep that up all the time. And I think that's definitely...
Oh, you just get a cranky Cormac.
Or you get cranky Cormac, yeah, exactly. Nobody wants cranky Cormac.
You're trained to do that in school, but you know that it lasts for the quarter or the semester, or whatever. But when you're out in the real world, it kind of happens when it happens. It could be all the time. It really depends on the culture of the office and the types of jobs and the types of clients you're working for.
Yeah. In this article, it does point out that raises, promotions, and title changes are all acceptable ways to increase the workload. But if you simply increase the workload because people are talented without changing a thing, they will seek another job that gives them what they deserve. Sure. I think that's the key to, I mean, if you're going to take on that, or like in Cormac, in your case, where you're working hard and doing that, if you're not being recognized for that in some way, either with a raise or a promotion or title change or something else, then you're only going to do that for so long.
Well, I think it depends on the person. Yeah, and it's our job, and it's the people above us, their job, to figure out what somebody needs. Because somebody, it could just be personal recognition, it could be public recognition, it could be money, it could be all these different things. And different people have different triggers. I do kind of see this. I hate to say it, but it sometimes is generational. Whereas like an older generation or somebody in my generation might be motivated by money or a bonus, more generally, and a younger generation or an era might be more motivated by recognition or time off. It could be a lot of things. And I think that's really just kind of our job is to figure out what motivates people. Because, yeah, you're right, Neil. If you don't motivate them and you just have this expectation and then it's never met with any kind of, back and forth, you've got to give and take. If they're going to give you their time, then you've got to give them something in return for that. And like it or not, this isn't the old days of practicing architecture where you had a job and you like it. I mean, the talent war is on, and you're going to go work somewhere else if you're not getting what you want out of it. And that could be a huge loss for the company. I mean, I guess one of the reasons we bring this up at all is that if people aren't happy, number one, you need to know about it because it's expensive hiring employees.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And number two, like if that employee isn't saying anything and then all of a sudden it's a surprise, I mean, you're not, it's too late, right? You can't do anything about it if it gets to that point.
It's funny you say that because how many times have you heard, well, why didn't you come and talk to me?
Right.
You should have told me.
If you just would have talked to us, yeah.
It's like, you should have told me that there was a problem. No, it's really not necessarily the employee's job to tell you that they're unhappy. It's your job as a managing partner or a project manager or whoever to recognize that either that person's unhappy or things aren't going right on a project, and maybe it's time to rally the troops and sit down and have a talk to them about, hey, look, guys, I know it's been really rough on this project and all that other stuff, but if we can just kind of charge through it, get it done, and then actually have some tangible thing at the end to reward them with. I mean, because there's a lot of really rough projects out there sometimes, and sometimes it may not be suited for them or whatever, but they want to learn and grow and muster through it, and then that's when you sit down and you talk to them about rewarding them and really doing something nice for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about doing something nice for yourself? And you know what that would be? What's the one thing we all do in our practice? Searching the internet for content, right? Well, we want to let you know about ARCAT. ARCAT is an online resource devoted to bringing content to the building professional. They have huge libraries you can access, and they don't hit you up for subscriptions. There are no fees, and they won't make you register to download the content. We've all been there. You finally find the right file, and you get blocked with a registration pop-up, and you think, thanks for wasting my time. I'll find it somewhere else.
I quit.
I'm quit. I'm out of here. ARCAT's BIM library is really second to none and available in just about any format you need. In fact, their entire BIM library is formatted for the last 5 versions of Revit. Their CAD library has thousands of CAD details, and if you need specs, the ARCAT library is the most consistent library you will find. Every single spec is written in the CSI 3-part format. There's so much more on their site, including catalogs, videos, and Spec Wizard. Go to arcat.com or download their app to check it all out. It's a great free resource that you don't have to register to use. Visit them at arcat.com, and thanks to ARCAT for sponsoring this episode of Archispeak.
Almost sounded like Neil was descending into a Lewis Black skit.
Totally.
I quit. So, guys, what about, like we were talking just before the break there, about doing something for the team or for you or something like that towards the end of a project or something. But what about when they don't follow through? They don't honor that commitment. I mean, that's one of the other items on this list here is that, if the bosses aren't honoring their commitments, why should anyone else? That's definitely another reason why I think people, if they don't see that or they're not getting recognized or if they're told they're going to get something, some sort of promotion or something, and they don't get it, well, that's another reason I think people leave.
And that tends to happen, I mean, it's, all right, Neil's acting a little mopey. Let's tell him something really nice about what will happen when he pulls through all of this project. And, let's dangle a little carrot in front of him. And then, when it gets to the end, it's like, yeah, let's snatch that carrot. Let's throw it down the roadway and let's keep pushing, Neil. So, yeah, I mean, sadly, it does happen when people don't honor their commitments and they just kind of use you as a tool.
Yeah, and that's a huge mistake, right? Because you're not leading by example then. You're making a promise, you're breaking it, and guess what people want to do? They're gonna follow that exact same policy, right? Because if you do it enough, it is a policy, whether you like it or not. And whether you would tolerate it or not, it's what you're doing. So you can't blame those people for doing that. They're gonna get the heck out of there if that's the problem.
Right.
One thing we talked a little bit about earlier was if they don't come to you and say that they need something, why didn't you come talk to me? If you would have done that, we would have done whatever it takes to keep you here. And have you guys ever seen the Netflix culture slide deck? I'll throw a link to it in the show notes, but it's one of my favorite things on the internet. It's check it out when you get a chance. I threw it in there. It's basically this 124 slide PowerPoint presentation that really does speak for itself. It doesn't require anybody kind of walking you through it. It has everything you need in there to read about the culture that they've set up at Netflix. And it's basically like an HR revolution that they've had over there. And this happened, I think, in the early 2000s. And this slideshow is amazing. And I'm looking at slide 96 is where it starts for this part that I wanted to talk about. And by the way, this slide deck has had 14.5 million views. So it's all over. But it's on SlideShare, which is part of LinkedIn. And on this slide, it says that they pay top of market, and that's core to the high-performance culture. And what's interesting about this to me is that because they only want the highest performing employees, they basically have 3 tests to see if they're paying top of market for a person. And the 3 questions they ask themselves are, what could that person get elsewhere? What could they pay for a replacement, or what would they pay for a replacement? And what would they pay to keep that person if they had a bigger offer elsewhere? And the goal is to keep each person at the top of market for that person. So you answer those questions, and if you'd say, well, I'd pay this much, their answer is, well, then start paying them that today and don't wait for them to ask. And to me, that is a huge culture shift, and that something that seems like architecture in general is not willing to keep up with. But it's one of those things where, why wait for somebody to come to you and say, you know what, you guys you're not paying anywhere near the range that I should be getting paid. And talk about not feeling valued. I realize that for the most part, it's a corporation's job to pay people as little as they can. But ultimately, if you've got talent and you want to keep them there, and they are the highest performing in your company, they're the top 10% or the top 5%, why wouldn't you pay what it takes to keep them there if that is what motivates them?
Yeah, just that, maybe not necessarily just about the money, but, the recognition and, the gratitude of the project manager or whoever or whatever. But think about the motivating factor that has, the the increase in productivity that has when you actually are letting people know the value that you have on them, without them having to go and ask, hey, I want to talk to you about, potentially maybe having a raise and all this other stuff, rather than them having to come and beg you. Take the initiative and actually show them how much you value them, and it would work wonders.
I think one of the faults that some firms fall into, I know the firm I used to work for a number of years ago did this, is that essentially, and this is where I think is anti to what you just said, Evan, which is essentially every year, certain time of the year, they would have everybody's reviews. And then after that, it's over. Yep. Because I don't care what you did between now and 10 months from now. It's really kind of what do they remember you doing in the last, 30 days or 60 days, right?
Yeah, because it's like all of a sudden at the end of the year when it comes time for performance reviews and you're like, oh crap, what did I do this year? And then you're just stuck wasting time trying to figure out all that stuff. That once a year review process is just super lame.
I'm not sure what the answer is, but maybe we'll talk more about that in the follow up to this one. But I think right now, that's a part of the problem is these annual type reviews. When I think the other problem too is if you have like a medium sized firm, like I know Evan, you work for actually a large firm. If you're doing all those reviews at once, you kind of get a little burned out, and at some point in time, the bucket of money runs out, right? I'm sure that you go into it with a plan. Okay, everybody gets this. We have some discretion here or here. But it's like, I don't know. It just seems like not the right way. Very much anti what you're talking about in that Netflix culture.
Yeah.
Approach.
Well, it's not that, so, we have, I believe it's like a quarterly reviews, and, you're not expecting to get a raise every quarter. But
Right.
what you are expecting is valuable input on
Feedback.
what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you can improve on, and ways.
What's going to get you to the next step
Exactly.
that you want to get to.
Exactly. And those are as much of a motivating factor and a motivating tool as, dangling the carrot of cash around. But I think that, there are other opportunities, and like you said, we can talk about them later, but that I think one of the key things that we keep talking about here is letting people know their value and know their worth.
Well, let's talk about another reason why people quit. And that one that I hear a lot is that they work for an asshole. There's somebody who's got some kind of a personality problem that is no longer going to work out. And it's like, there's nothing you can do about that, right? And so I hear this a lot. I hear this from people, it doesn't matter where you work. There's somebody that they just can't work with anymore. And so does the firm get rid of the person that nobody can work with, or does the people who can't work with them end up leaving? And typically I see it's the
latter, not the former. That's what happened to me once. Yeah. I left. He's still there.
So why is that? So why is it that those personality problems, typically at the top, right? Those are people who've been there for a long time, who have a history of this type of behavior, and the firm doesn't do anything about it.
Clients love them. They bring in work.
Do you think? Okay,
so not
here's
necessarily always the case.
I mean, that's an exaggeration.
That's a generalization.
That's a generalization, and in my case, an exaggeration. But there's some truth to that.
Yeah, it is.
See, I look at it like, if we know that they're the assholes, then how come the clients can't see it too?
I have no idea.
Because I think they can.
Maybe, but they're still giving them work. They're still bringing in the work. So yeah. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one. But at some point in time, I'd had enough. I'm done. And I know other people that left there too. But ultimately, if he is being, he or she is being successful, it's a he in my case, is successful there, then, clearly there's a personality conflict, and maybe that's just what it is. Maybe everybody else loves him. It didn't work for me. So, my option was, I'm getting the hell out of here.
I don't even think, I guess I should say also too, that another facet to that general type of person is that they care more about themselves than they do about the people working for them.
Absolutely.
And as an employee of a company, that's something you can sniff out real quick, right? And if you aren't getting support from them, then you're likely not to support them back. And I mean, I've seen so many employees get thrown under the bus by certain people, right? It's like there's this trail of blood behind them, and then all of a sudden nobody can work with them, but yet they're still the ones with the job. And those types of toxic people hurt the company in huge ways, but those don't show up on the balance sheet.
Right.
People don't assign a dollar value to those types of problems. And that's unfortunate, because there is good talent walking out the door.
Yeah.
Because of those personalities.
And, and it really does take just one person to demoralize you,
Mm-hmm.
I go back to that story that I was telling you about my buddy that, is now working with me at another place, this guy, and it was that guy, it was that kind of, situation where here we were working with an asshole that treated people poorly. And for some reason, the old school way of thinking in certain clients and upper management felt like this is a guy, he's a hard charger, he doesn't care about feelings, he just gets the job done. Well, guess what? Not all the time is that the right way to go about doing things. And, and lost a lot of people. Not just, this guy, but there was a lot of people who quit because they just couldn't work with the asshole.
Yeah, there's actually it doesn't say this exactly in the Netflix slide deck, but it does talk about those types of people. It doesn't say the no assholes, but they do refer to it. The HR person at Netflix said that they were pretty much hell-bent on developing a no assholes, no bozos rule.
I love it.
Yeah, it's just straight to the point, right? That's huge.
Well, in another one from the list that we had here, which somewhat goes a little bit along with that, no bozos, no assholes, is promoting the wrong people. And
yeah, you're sitting there. What? Why did they get?
Exactly.
What just happened? Am I in the Twilight Zone?
Like, I'm the one who's killing myself. I'm the one who's getting the job done. But
they're a better politician.
Exactly.
Or they're liked by somebody better.
That can be crazy making to see that happen, because there could be some kind of personal issue between two people, and that can lead to you just getting the shaft all the time, right?
There's been situations where, like, say there's two guys who were hired at the same time. They work their way up. Both of them are relatively similar in behaviors and the way that they work and everything else. And one guy gets promoted, the other guy doesn't. And that the guy who doesn't, feels slighted by the fact that he's now left behind. And, and that's a huge demoralizing, that kind of just is a huge demotivator. And you're sitting there, you're scratching your head. It's like, well, what could I have done better? Sometimes it just happens to be that, well, we only had one opportunity for it. But it still doesn't really help the guy who gets the short stick.
I would say another reason that, and maybe we can talk a little bit about solutions here, but one of the other reasons that I see people quit is that they just don't feel like the company stands for what they stand for, or they don't fit the mission of the company.
Or the culture.
Or they may not fit with the mission. You said fit with the mission of the firm, or the firm doesn't fit with their own personal mission.
Yeah.
And that I see more often than not recently is, people are coming out of school and they've got a clear idea. In fact, probably sometimes even more of a clearer idea than we had when we were coming out of school, where we just wanted to get a job. We wanted to learn, how to put buildings together and then, move up the ladder. Now there's so much more that people are wanting out of their career. And a lot of these firms, we call them the good old boy firms, or the, just the way that things were done in the past, don't align with their vision of what they want their career to be. And after a while, they start getting disillusioned, and it's like they, may think to themselves, well, is there anything that I can do to kind of create change from inside? And then they just realize that sometimes, no, that's just never going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just like, yeah, maybe this isn't the place for me.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of cases, then that actually is the right thing to do. Right? And you should not be trying to force somebody to stay somewhere where they're not being fulfilled in those kinds of ways, because it's not a good fit. And there are firms out there who want to do the things that people are, what their causes are. I guess that's what we're talking about here, is different types of causes and things like that people believe in. So if you want to go work for somebody who gives back to your local community, then you need to find the firm that does that. It's really hard to force a firm that doesn't have that culture into that type of position.
Well, I think that goes to one of the topics that is also mentioned in the article, is letting people pursue their passions.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if that's a passion of yours, and if the firm may not have that goal, but they might be willing to do it.
Yep.
So, it's a matter of letting people pursue those passions, because it could be beneficial to the firm in general. I mean, we're kind of I'm not trying to say you could change the culture of a firm, because that's probably not going to happen. But if there's a specific sort of thing you're interested in, if the firm is willing to let you pursue that, it could lead to some growth for them. Maybe something new, a new product type that they can move into.
I think that it could fit into a firm. I shouldn't be so dismissive, because maybe the firm will give you the ability to cultivate that yourself within the company. If you're, depending on the cause that you're interested in going after, that could be a way for you to kind of set yourself apart from your colleagues within the company and actually do that and have the resources of the firm help you achieve that goal better than you could do it on your own or somewhere else. So I shouldn't be dismissive that you should go somewhere else if your firm doesn't believe that, but it should definitely be a communication that happens, and you can ask the question and you can gauge their interest and see if that's something that they can back you up on. And if not, then maybe the right thing to do is to go somewhere else.
And how might you do that?
Yeah, let's talk about our second sponsor here, David Brown International, and they are a talent agency. Finding the right talent to join your firm in this exceptionally competitive market can feel like an impossible task. With everything you already have to do to run your business every day, you need a trusted partner that knows your industry and has a proven track record of success. DBI is a global leader in executive recruiting and consulting for the architecture and interior design industry. With unmatched industry knowledge and a vast network of world-class architecture and design leaders, influencers, and talent, DBI provides global recruiting, staffing, and strategy. Does your firm need to hire talent? Is your in-house human resources team looking for support? Perhaps you want to build a brand designed to attract talent on your own. DBI understands the importance of having the right design talent in the right job at the right time. Their professional team ensures that every search is tailored to the specific needs of your firm, and DBI is dedicated to delivering the highest quality results. Whether you're an architecture or design firm interested in finding your next great hire, or you're an architect that's looking to make their next career move, DBI is the right partner to help you find success. Learn more and contact the team at DBI today. You can contact Zach over there at www.dbifirm.com. That's DBI, as in David Brown International, firm.com. Or you can call 888-774-9161. At DBI, placement is everything. And thanks, DBI, for sponsoring the Archispeak Podcast once again.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something important to have in your back pocket, a firm like DBI to reach out to. I mean, recruiters can be so important and helping you get a job.
Yeah, definitely. If you are looking for a firm that meets all the causes and the needs that you have, I mean, it's great to have kind of an ally in that search process to figure out exactly what the best firm is for you to work at, right? If
Absolutely.
You can go through that process and they can do that research for you and say, you know, I don't think this one's the right fit for you, or I think this one is the right fit for you, that's a great partner to have in that process. And they're getting paid to do it, so take advantage of it.
So what are the next things? I noticed in this list here, there's like three different things in a row that start off, they fail, they fail, they fail, they fail. And one of them is to develop people's skills, to engage their creativity, and to challenge people intellectually. I think they're all related to each other, but it's interesting that each one is that the firm is failing, just like they're maybe failing to recognize, like we were mentioning earlier, why didn't you come to me earlier, right? Because they've failed to do these things.
Well, I think we all know how hard it is to have all these balls in the air, right? So if you're running a firm, right, and you've got employees working for you, are you actively involved in developing people's skills? Are you actively involved in engaging their creativity? Are you actively involved in challenging them intellectually? Are you meeting all of their needs that they have as an employee? And so I guess, you know, something to just consider here is that being a leader in a company is difficult. It is really hard to keep your eye on all the different facets that you have to. So I think it's important as an employee in a company to target exactly who you need to talk to and not make one person kind of the catch-all for all of these different things, and not expect one person to be able to provide all these things for you either. I mean, a lot of this is going to have to be self-directed depending on the size of the firm, right?
Right.
You've got to be a self-starter. You've got to figure out problems on your own. They can't hold your hand the whole time. And so I think that's just an important distinction to make.
I think that you're absolutely right. I think there needs to be a balance between how much you're taking initiative and how much help along the way you're getting.
Yeah, there's
the way to say that.
There's times when I've heard it both ways. It's like, well, we're expecting you to lead the charge with this and to step up. You hear that all the time, right? Well, we're waiting for you to step up and show the initiative, and so I guess there definitely is a balance there. And if there are strictly kind of written out things that you have to do to accomplish your job title, if you've got that list and you are going down it and you're checking every single thing off, then you are doing that, right? And maybe you are ready to move up to the next level. But if you're not, you know exactly what you need to do per their list. And if it starts to get where it's subjective, whether there's maybe things that are on that list that you don't know about because they're not written down, that's where things get really weird, right? And that's where personalities start to get in the way, where somebody might have expectations that you don't know that you should be fulfilling them. Then that, to me, is where you're being held back. And it could be intentional, it could be unintentional, but it's at that point, it's your job to bring it up and say, well, I'm doing all these things. They're right here on this list. I'm checking all these off. So where do you see that I need to grow so that I can move up to the next level, if that's what you're looking for? But you can't just not say anything and say, well, they're not engaging my creativity.
Right. I was just going to say, so is it acceptable to... maybe at one point, it's Cormac, I like the idea of the quarterly review. I think that's a good time frame to continually check in. I don't know how formal or informal those reviews are, but if you're on the kind of annual review process, that's a long time to go. And I think you do need to take it upon yourself to start to check in, maybe quarterly. And it could be something as informal as, sitting down and having lunch together,
right?
Or just saying after a staff meeting or something, hey, can I pick your brain for a few minutes if you have time? Afterwards, can we sit down for a few minutes and discuss kind of where you're at, and not spend an hour at it, but maybe it's just a short conversation. And then maybe there's opportunities to have that happen throughout the year. It's not something that's a formal thing.
And surprisingly enough, just having, maybe just having lunch with a project manager or a project, principal, and in itself, maybe it's just kind of a casual conversation about, your, what's going on, what you think needs to be approved or something. But just those conversations start to let you know that they want to hear from you, they want to listen to you, and they're valuing your opinion, and that itself goes a long way. It doesn't necessarily have to be, as you were saying, it doesn't have to be the formal review. It can be just something very simple, very casual about it. And that right there alone kind of eases you in, because a lot of times everybody goes into like the yearly review all tense and gets a little defensive and stuff. And if it's just something as you're, throughout the year, you have a little lunch here or there, or maybe you have like a semi-formal one or something like that, at least it helps you track throughout the year, how your performance within the firm is going. It's not like, at the end of the year, Neil, you really did a really bad job. And it's just like, wait, you just kind of sprung this on me.
Right.
Isn't this something that you could have told me a little bit sooner? And sometimes, these quarterly or even more than that, they can help you kind of track it. And it's just like, well, the last 5 reviews you gave me over the course of this year, you never said that I was doing a bad job, so why now?
Right.
Yeah.
I want to touch on one thing that I saw, or that I've seen in the past. I'm starting to see it now, being in a firm again. Is I want to approach this from a couple of angles. One, in the office, you need to pay attention a little bit about what may be going on around you. If the office I'm in now, there's maybe some senior project managers or project managers sitting around some other staff, and so people are on the phone, and yet I still see people and they're sitting there. I understand that there's times you maybe need to get something done, and they got their headphones on. And part of, I think, what kind of ties into this, where I'm trying to go with this, is that if you kind of recognize what the needs are in the firm. And then you can kind of tailor what you're doing to try and meet those needs. So if you're listening to what the conversation is going on around you, you have a better sense of what is needed to be done. And if it's if it's something that you can do, you can volunteer to do that. And that's like, oh wow, this person's really taking the initiative. They're because maybe they listened or they heard something. And so paying attention can oftentimes help you take some of that initiative and do some things. So I don't know, that's just a little bit of a side thing, but I think it's all part of being engaged as much as you possibly can to challenge yourself as much as them challenging you.
Yeah, totally. You can see where the needs are, and you can try to figure out how you can help make them go away, right?
Right. Or, I mean, if you're just even hearing your fellow coworkers complain about such and such problem with X, whatever it might be, and you're like, oh, you know what? I know how to fix that. Or, oh, I know a key command or something that'll allow you to do this. It's like, oh, hey, that's great. This person's very helpful. If you're not paying attention, you don't know that. You can't even volunteer some of your own talents or your own creativity to take that on. Just listening to what's happening around in the office, if you hear something from across the hall and it's like if you have that ability or talent or know that it's something that's needed, then you can contribute.
But that requires one thing that isn't on this list, and that's trust in. So you should have trust in your subordinates, and then you should have trust across the team. And if you don't have that trust, then
no, I think you're on the right. You're on the right path. You have to have that trust.
Yeah, it's a two-way thing.
Not only just with your coworkers, but with the senior people in the firm.
Right.
But I just think it's important to be able to listen to what's happening, especially with some of the senior partners that you may hear around the office.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And I would also add that a tip that I would give for that type of review process that happens, no matter how often it happens, is you need to find an advocate that can help make that happen for you. So it's somebody who's interested in what you want to do with your goals, right? But you need to find somebody and identify them as somebody who will talk on your behalf in those meetings where they're trying to make those decisions about who gets what. Because if you don't have that person, it's a lot harder. I'll just say it that way. Because I've had it both ways, where I had a great advocate, and then I've gone through periods of time where I haven't had anybody. And those are the real stagnant times in my career, is when I didn't have somebody who had the ear of a decision maker or was a decision maker, right? And so I think it's always good to kind of work on those relationships with people so that they see the value in you, and then they're at the table. If you're not the person at the table making those decisions, then you have somebody who is. And that's important to identify who that could be for you.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of put the capper on that part for me is that you have to decide if this is the place you want to be. I mean, we've been talking about quitting, right? If you don't want to quit, if this is a place that you feel is valuable or that you want to be at, then you need to make that effort to have that either mentor or that advocate that Evan's talking about. You need to find that person. If this is the place you want to be. If not, well, then maybe it's time to move on, and you call DBI and have them help you out.
Yep.
So hey, let's take a break here. I want to talk about Drobo. This is our other sponsor for this episode, and Drobo. A lot of people are wondering, possibly, what is Drobo? I know, Evan, you know a little bit about Drobo.
I've known Drobo for a long time.
Yeah, and so have I, actually, although I have never actually owned one, but I do now, and I'll talk about that in a second. So what is Drobo? Drobo basically is a mass storage device. Basically, it's either connected to your computer directly, or it can. They have models that can work as a network attached storage. Boy, say that 3 times fast. All right. Basically, Drobo allows you to put in multiple drives into a case, and then it backs all that up. If a drive fails, you can pull it out, and all of your data is still safe. You can throw in another drive, and it repopulates. And so that if a crash happens, you don't lose all your data. So this is really, something that is very important for either your personal computer at home or small office sort of situation.
Yep.
This happened to me actually maybe a year or so ago. I actually had my one of my drives fail. It just started up one day and
all drives fail.
It didn't work. Yeah, exactly. And all drives do fail. And fortunately, at the time, I didn't. I did have my Time Machine, and it had the entire drive backed up. I was able to buy another drive and put all that data across there. But the beauty of Drobo is something that I can't wait to deal with this issue on my desk. Right now, I have 5 or 6 different hard drives. Actually, I have 7. 5. I think 4 or 5 of them are actively going right now at all times, but it's a mess. I have stuff on one drive and, Time Machine over here and clone over there and data over there and data over here. And it's, but it's because I have a lot of data. All these podcasts, adds up. I save all this stuff, right? So how do you handle it? Drobo is an easy solution. It's one box. Fill it with as many drives as it can hold. In this case, I actually have now a Drobo 5N that I just received and haven't yet set it up. So we'll be telling you more about Drobo in the coming episodes, and we'll take you on a little journey of my process of setting one up and getting it going and using it. And I do want to mention one of the features I'm kind of excited to try out is something that's new to Drobo, which is their My Drobo feature, which essentially allows you to create your own cloud for sharing files. Either sharing them or accessing them online, whether you're away somewhere else. And so I'm kind of looking forward to trying out that feature as well. So that's a few words about Drobo.
It's like your own private Dropbox.
It's perfectly said, actually, as you would know, because you have one and you have used it. So, but anyway, so I'm looking forward to trying that out and getting my data all kind of backed up in a more of a centralized location that is fault protected in case of a drive failure, and kind of eliminate this mess that's and cables all over my desk here. So thanks. Big shout out to Drobo for sponsoring Archispeak. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to talking more about them in the next several episodes and taking you on this Drobo journey I'm taking.
That's right. So everybody can go to drobo.com to learn more about Drobos and what they're all about. They've got a lot of different models. And just to give you kind of the quick, in a nutshell, I've had a Drobo for many years. And mine is because I've had it for many years, it's an older model. But it holds 4 drives, and those can be just about any size that you want. You can mix and match. And so one of the cool things, and I just thought I would tell you about this, is this thing is running all the time. Right? I've got all these files. I've got terabytes of data on it. And because it's self-backed up, it's like a RAID. It actually has redundancy built in, depending on how you set it up. You can pull a drive out while the whole thing's running, and it will start rebuilding itself.
I can't wait to try that.
It's like Terminator 2. Just reconfigures itself. It knows at that point that data is, so-called lost if you just pull it out. And it rebuilds itself because it has all the redundant backup on the other disks that are inside there. And your data never skips a beat. And so these are super cool things. And that's why architects who listen to the show and students should listen to this ad, is because your data is backed up multiple times within the device itself. So while it's not going to help you if your house burns down or if somebody steals it, the more common thing that happens is a disk goes bad, right? And so if a disk goes bad, you're still covered. And you just pull that disk out, it rebuilds itself, and then you get another disk from Amazon or whatever, and you shove it back in there, and it rebuilds and re-gives you that space back.
So listen up, everybody. Listeners to this show can save $100 off their purchase of a Drobo Mini, Drobo 5D, Drobo 5N, which is the one Neil's talking about, or any 8-drive or 12-drive system at www.drobostore.com by using the discount code ARCH100, ARCH100. Enter that when you check out, and you're going to save $100 off any Drobo that I just mentioned.
So what else makes an employee quit?
I've got something here that I thought I would throw into the mix, and that is personality types, because we're talking about kind of taking your career into your own hands here, right? And speaking up and telling people what you want to get out of your career and giving a damn about who you work for and the company you work for and all that stuff. But I think that that's difficult for a lot of people. I mean, if we know that there are lots of introverts in this world, and architecture is largely revolving around the extroverted personality type, right? We go out, we make presentations, we network with clients, we do all these things to get work and to win work, and we're out there and doing all this stuff. But there's a lot of people in our offices who are super uncomfortable with that idea.
Yeah.
And do you know anything about this, Cormac?
Oh, yeah.
I just thought I'd bring it up because, I mean, this is a real problem. I mean, there's people listening to this podcast who are probably already shut it off, who are just like, yeah, but I can't do that. Like, that freaks me out. I'm not going to do that. Like, kind of stuff. I guess my main point is that with personality types, it is hard for us to realize that these are still complete, awesome, top performers. And they do it way different, right? And so I'm saying they, you know, and a lot of times it's us or we. So don't get me wrong here. Where I want to go with this is that there are places for introverts in our firms to do amazing work, and we, as the managers or leaders in the firms, have to recognize that, and we have to figure out the places where they can excel. And I'm saying they because I'm not an introvert. You know, I'm married to one, and so I really do try to understand this as well as I can. But that's really hard for people to find the advocate, to communicate what they need, to do those kinds of things. And so I guess the reason I'm saying this on the podcast is because I want people to go out and actively cultivate relationships with everybody, not just the ones who talk about themselves in their firms, so that they can find out what people need and what they want out of their career so that they can help make it happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because there are so many people that are scared to death about going in and asking for more money because that's what they really need, right? And so they would just rather quit than have that conversation. And that happens, right? And so, again, it's up to us to be aware of those kinds of things and help facilitate those conversations to happen. And so those conversations need to happen in a private, quiet place, right? Like, those are the kinds of social dynamics that have to be made aware so that they're comfortable, so that you can actually find out. Because we have architects working in our companies who are amazing architects, and they will never give a presentation. Like, I don't want to give the wrong impression, like everybody has to give presentations. You don't, right? You made it through school, you did that part, you got your license, and now you're working in a firm, and you're an amazing project architect. And you don't ever give a presentation, but you're super valued where you're at, and we need to figure out how to make those people happy.
Absolutely. I think one other thing that, being somebody who's newly working in an office again, that I need to mention as a possible reason why somebody may leave: idiotic office rules that will drive anyone insane. I've got a link here that I'll include in the show notes, but I'm not going to go through all of these. But I wanted to at least mention it, point it out that it'll be in the show notes. Read through this list; it's great. There's definitely a few on here. I'm not going to mention which ones that are already driving me insane, but anyway, I won't get into all of that on this episode. But
isn't that kind of skewed by you running your own company for so long?
Probably. Yeah,
it totally is. I mean,
absolutely.
The longer you do this, the more it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many rules. Like, the complexity is way up here because you know, the bigger the company gets, like, the more chaos there is.
Right.
I think. And so then therefore the more rules there are, and then it's like, oh my God, like, how do you keep track of it all? Exactly.
I think we should do a follow-up on this one and talk about some things that we can do to keep people, but I think that's going to need to be another episode. So Look forward to that one.
Sounds
so But before we go, want a big shout out to ARCAT for sponsoring this episode. Visit them at arcat.com, and also DBI, or David Brown International, and they are dbifirm.com, and also to Drobo at drobo.com. Thanks to all of them for sponsoring this episode. And visit our website at archispeakpodcast.com for links to our catalog of episodes. You can also sign up for our newsletter that includes links to everything we mentioned, including these articles we talked about in this episode. Between episodes, please join in on the conversation by leaving comments at archispeakpodcast.com and on our Facebook page or through Twitter. Links can be found by visiting our site at archispeakpodcast.com. Now, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.